mostly about the computer and how to edit or whatever I want to learn that day. And it could be the most random thing ever. It could be a part of history. It could be how to write a better story, whatever it is. But nothing quite blows me away more than learning about myself. Learning about myself is really weird. You know, most people, when asked if they knew themselves, would probably say yes. You know, and you'd probably be really confident in thinking that you know who you are and why you like the way you are, and so on and so forth. And when there's a sudden realization that you don't know yourself as well as you think you do, it blows your mind more than any piece of information or little work around something you're doing will ever. I was talking to someone a few days ago about basically school and how I learn in school, and I always thought that, you know, I was a certain way, and they put something completely different to me, and it's like everything kind of clicked into place for the first time ever for me, and it was a sudden realization that I thought I was one way, but actually I wasn't. It was a completely different way. And my whole life I had convinced myself that I was here. In reality I was over here. And it was it was a little bit of an upsetting realization, but it was a good one, you know. At the end of the day, it actually kind of made me feel better, made me feel good that I had this realization. And the sad part actually came from me thinking I was here, and actually I wasn't, right? So it was like a realization that I was putting myself here and I wasn't, and it made me upset. But there was another time in my life that I had a realization, and it was actually really hurtful towards me, because it was a realization that I was the problem, basically. And someone put to me that if you keep having the same problems with every person you come into contact, then probably you're the problem causing it, not that person. And again, it done the same thing. It switched in my head, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, wow. And that one was hurtful because it made me realize that I was the problem, not everyone else. You know, you keep having a common thing happen or a common thing occur, and the only common denominator is you, then you're probably the problem. And it's an upsetting realization when you realize that you're the cause for upset. But it is good to learn about yourself, nevertheless. I think a lot of people go their whole life with not learning enough about themselves. And some people learn about themselves and they don't, change. You know, and it doesn't always mean that you change, but maybe even the way you think, right? The thing with me learning in school, it's about now me changing the way I think about myself. Whereas the one prior was me, causing pain, causing upset, and that was me doing a physical change to not do those things. And so I encourage you, when you do learn about yourself, don't let it just fade away. That's a cool thing about me, or oh, that's not the greatest thing about me. And you let it slide. You know, if you find something cool about you, embrace it. If you find something that you could need to work on, do it. Don't just let it slide into the background and forget about it. You know, learning about yourself. You know, a lot of people will tell you your body is your temple and all this, like, keep your soul good or whatnot. I don't know what I'm even rambling about, but it's not a lie. You have to deal with yourself 24/7 for the rest of your life, yeah? So trying to be the best version of yourself as much as possible. Obviously, you're never going to be perfect, but as much as possible is always going to be great, or it's always going to feel better at the end of the day. So realizations about yourself may not be common, you know, and when they do come about, treasure them, whether they're good or bad or not. So yeah.